the light. Oh. Greetings in the name of His Imperial Majesty. A Scott talk. All praise due to the Most High. Or some boy I feel like. Welcome back to another episode of the Love Zone. Joining me is the beautiful, the Royal Empress, the goddess herself, Lillian.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the Love Zone.
How you doing, gorgeous?
I'm really good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing fine. Thank you very much. You're looking absolutely stunning tonight,
Thank you so
usual.
much. Thank you so much.
So, welcome back, guys. Tonight we've got an absolutely packed show tonight for you guys. Shout out to everybody that's been sending in your clips. Yeah, keep those clips coming in. You can send your clips in at info@realtalkradio.co.uk. And you can also we've got a new email address which is
askus@the-lovezone.co.uk.
Brilliant. And guys, we like to have a bit of fun on the Love Zone, and we like to have a little bit of laugh and a little joke and a bit of bants. But there is a more darker side to the work we do. And for those that aren't aware, we do offer a national counselling service. So for anybody that's feeling depressed, if you're feeling stressed, if you're feeling like you're suffering from anxiety, or you're feeling suicidal, and you want to speak to someone, do get in touch with us. We also offer professional relationship counseling, and as of last week we now offer pregnancy counseling. So if anybody's feeling traumatized through the different stages of pregnancy and you want to speak to someone, get in touch with us. The details will shortly follow across the bottom of the screen, www.realtalkradio.co.uk, and you can also drop us an email at info@realtalkradio.co.uk. I bring that up because over the last week, so many people have contacted me about getting professional counselling services. And when I've asked them, where did you hear about us? Every single one of them has said, oh, I heard you mention it on your show. You was talking about this, and then you mentioned the counselling, and I thought I'd get in touch with you. And just to let you guys know, the beautiful Royal Empress Lily, she is also our resident counsellor as well. But a quick disclaimer, the advice she gives out on tonight's show is not professional counselling advice. You're just talking from your own opinion.
Absolutely.
Right? So guys, without further ado, we've got a lot to get through tonight. And also, like I said, all you guys that have been sending in your clips, the Arcs Ace video clips, thank you guys. Last week, I don't know if you guys remember, we had a beautiful young lady by the name of Nicola Carter. She was the lady in the green dress. She sent in 3 or 4 clips talking about online dating. No, sorry.
No, we were talking about should a man pay?
Should a man pay?
Yes.
So you guys, the response that you guys, the comments that came in all week after Nicola's videos, we decided to get her in the studio. So tonight, guys, guess what? A Scott talk. What's one better than one, Royal Empress? 2. Welcome tonight to the Love Zone, Nicola.
Hey, I'm glad to be here.
Give her a round of applause. Give her a round of applause. One hand. We'll do that again. Sorry, apologies. So
we've had our applause, haven't we, Nicola?
So we'll do that again. So welcome to Love Zone, Nicola. Give her a round.
Welcome, Nicola, to the Love Zone.
So without further ado, guys, we're going to quickly finish off the clips that we didn't play last week. We're going to quickly go through those clips. And those clips are based on should a man date?
Should a man pay?
And then we're going to.
Should he expect dessert?
And then we're going to open up the discussion on sex before marriage.
Yes.
Right, and I know me and yourself had a conversation offline, and we were a little bit concerned because we know that the younger members of the audience can be quite vulnerable.
Yes.
And we don't want to encourage any particular behavior. But I think we both decided that it's very important to discuss what does it look like now in 2020?
Absolutely.
Because traditionally we know what sex before marriage represented. But what does that look like now in 2020? Are people still practicing sex before marriage? Or is it try before you buy? So you're going to be discussing that on today's show. We want your clips coming as well. What do you guys at home think? Do you think are you traditional? Do you still believe in the good old principles of the chastity belt and sex before marriage? Or do you believe that you should try before you buy? So send us your clips, guys. We want your clips coming in, and you can send them into you can either email us I can see the comments of the details are going across the bottom of the screen. Now you've got the contact details there, email and web. So get in touch with us on that one. And then also, after we've run through that, we're going to talk, what's next week? The topic of next week's show?
Dating apps.
Dating apps. Yay or nay? So we're going to be looking at dating apps and dating websites, and we want your interaction on that. So as usual, shout out to all the regular listeners, shout out to Cheryl, shout out to quickly, Mira. What up to them? I forget shout out here, Mira, right? She sat down and watched all 5 episodes of The Love Zone back to back, like it was Game of Thrones. Yeah, big up yourself. Yeah, shall watch the Grit back to back. You know, so big up yourself for that. Yeah, but without further ado, right, we're gonna get into I think to tonight's first clip. And do you want to just introduce this lady and just tell us who the clip?
Okay, yes, we have a clip from Sonia.
Sonia.
Yes.
Thanks, Sonia. And the question was,
should a man pay? Should he expect desserts? Does it emasculate a man if a woman pays?
Does it emasculate a man if a woman pays? Let's say what Sonia had to say.
Should a man think after our first date that he's going to have dessert, a kiss, take it to another level? No. On our first date, he might get to hold my hands, look into my eyes. But having dessert on the first day, no. Maybe the second or the third or the fourth or the fifth day, if we have another date, only if I'm interested or after speaking to him and listening to him, I think, well, that is somebody I want to know more, then we can take it to another level. But definitely not on the first date.
What are your thoughts there, Nicola?
Me, definitely not. Someone buying you dinner is not I've done this, therefore you must. No, you're buying me dinner because you want to get to know me. You don't get to know me by sleeping with me or anything else. You get to know me by talking to me. So that's what we've done.
Interesting. So it's funny, the last point you made, that you say you don't get to know somebody by sleeping with them. But as we explored on previous shows, when we talk about things like sex, we talk about love, we talk about intimacy, some people, that is the way they do actually get to know each other, is in the bedroom. You know, and I mean, I think it's fair to say that for a lot of people, I've made this is my little saying. I've been waiting to bust it. I couldn't bust it till now, but I made this up a few weeks ago. We was talking about sex, love, intimacy. For men, and I'm going to speak general. And some of our listeners at home, they think that when Aces speak in general, it's Ace's opinion. I'm just speaking in the general context of how men generally think. Now, most men, they want the erection, but when we talked about intimacy, I think it's clear that you females, you prefer the connection. So my thing is connection before erection, and not the other way around. It's just a little thing to keep you on track. The connection before the erection, i.e., getting to know that person, like you said, being intimate with that person, and then, you know, after that, then you know, taking it to the next level. But I think we live in a society where a lot of people don't want really to take the time to get to know each other. They're not really interested in finding out who you are as a person. They're more interested in finding out who you are in the bedroom, so to speak. Am I right or wrong? What's your thoughts on that?
I think there are certain, you know, section of society that think that way, but in which case there's no need for a date. You say what you want, I say what I want.
Brilliant.
Don't mask it as something it's not.
Brilliant. So just call it like it is.
Say, you know, if that's what you're about, say what you're about. Don't mask it and come all hearts and flowers when you're not into hearts and flowers.
I've always been that guy. I like that. You keep it real. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Absolutely.
Lillian.
Yeah, absolutely. We need to be connected first. That's why I said this lockdown, I think that we're having, the lockdown that we're having at the moment, you know, people are forced now to actually make connections rather than just be sleeping with people, because you can't actually meet people. So you're actually having to have conversations and get to know each other and connect.
Brilliant. It's funny you say that, because I know there's a lot of couples that since this lockdown they've found each other. You know, it's easy to get up every day and just walk past each other, you know, in the kitchen, you know, see you later, and you kind of Even though you're under the same house, you can almost live separate lives.
Absolutely. So you have to form relationships. You have to form a proper relationship. Get to know who that person is, who you're living with.
Yeah.
Because you can't go anywhere else at the minute. So that's a positive thing to take out of all the negative that's going on.
It's true. You've got to like the person.
Absolutely.
Because when you get old, it's that you're stuck with.
Absolutely. And you're only going to get to know if you like that person by having communications with that person, having conversations, delving into each other. Yeah, because we keep saying that on the show. Get to know who you are, get to know who they are, connect.
Yes, totally agree, 100%.
Brilliant. Should we hear the next clip from Sonia?
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Should a man be uncomfortable if when we're going on a date, I decide to pay? I don't think so. If we want to go out, want to be with each other, want to see each other, I'm excited to go and meet up with him and have a meal, have a drink, go to a wine bar, and he can afford to pay at that time, I'll pay. If he chooses to pay me back, if he feel uncomfortable or less than a man, he could pay me back. He could buy me some flowers or do something, but I don't think he should feel uncomfortable or less than a man.
Brilliant. I'm smiling because I don't know if I should say, what's your thoughts on that? Or I actually like something you said in your own video last week in relation to letting a man be a man and the difference between. Do you want to break that down for the listeners that might have missed it?
Yeah, of course. Like I'm a traditionalist. Do you see what I mean? I think men and women, although they're equal, they have their different strengths. They're not the same.
Yeah.
They're equal, but they're not the same.
Yeah.
And what they bring to the table is just as valuable, but they each specialize in different areas. They have different strengths and different weaknesses. And so for a man to be the provider, the protector for his family, that's something that should be encouraged.
Definitely.
I think it's very easy for women to be, strong and independent and all this kind of stuff. But in doing so, kind of give the guy an excuse. Like, he don't have to redo nothing because she got it all. She can do it all by herself. And if you keep giving, men passes like that, you can't then be surprised when they don't step up and they're not bringing to the table and they're not supporting you and they're not being. Do you see what I mean? So it's like, if a man is giving that display, that show of affection, let me provide for you, let me give you a good meal, let me treat you.
Yeah.
Allow him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Allow him. That's his thing. Let him do that by all means. Yeah.
Yeah. Wonderful. And what's your thoughts on the issue, my darling?
I think it's a bit of both. Yeah, there is a time, yes, to let him provide, but if the woman also wants to provide, that's what makes her feel comfortable to do, then that should be allowed as well, because it is equal. It's equal mentally what you're both bringing to there. So if you're both in agreement to it, then yes, but it shouldn't be a case of, no, I'm the man, I will provide. Do you see?
No, of course. Yeah, not against the woman's will. If she feels strongly, then respect that.
Absolutely. So it must be a bit of both.
Yes,
and that again comes into the conversation. Let's talk about it. Let's talk how we both want this relationship to go. What I need in it and what you need in it, and how we can come to a compromise, how that works together.
And even that conversation in itself is part of the dating process, because there's two sets of values involved here.
Absolutely.
He may be a traditionalist and she's, quite, I can do for myself. I don't need you to pay for me. And that conversation is key. Because when you're raising children, how is this going to work? You think one way, he thinks another. You have to have that conversation as well. So,
absolutely, and it's a fair point you've put there, because there are some men who are bringing up the children while the woman works.
Yeah.
Yes. So she's providing the income, but he's providing bringing up the children.
Are we talking?
It sounds like something doesn't agree.
You can hear the cogs turning.
No, I'm just letting it bounce, because I can. There's like a different energies here, because although you're saying similar things, you're actually saying two completely different things. And I think, and this is a big concern I have, is that the definition of a strong, independent woman has been misinterpreted. Do you know what I mean? And see, look at it. Look, see the evils I'm getting.
I'm interested. I'm interested. I'm really interested.
I get where you're coming from when you said sometimes a man should just be a man. Let the man be the man. It's good for his man's self-esteem to feel like but And I get what you're saying, because you're more like, no, well, I'm an independent woman, and if I want to, pay my way, and I don't want a man to support me, but I think that sometimes, and I've seen it many times, I don't think I've seen the definition of a strong independent. I pay my own bills. I don't need a man to take care of me. I don't need a man for nothing. That can go so far as to your psyche actually think, I don't need no man. What do I need you for? I could do everything by myself.
But there's a difference.
What's the
There's a difference
What's the
because I'm not actually saying that. I'm actually saying that some women, are the breadwinners. That doesn't mean that the man has to be emasculated at all because he has a role to play. I think men and women should work together. It's not about I don't need a man. But if the woman is self-sufficient, she may not need him, but she wants him. She wants to be in a relationship with him. She wants him to feel empowered and all the things that he needs. So they need to have a conversation together to see how that works, because she shouldn't have to bring herself down to anything to make him feel more of a person. They should both be equal. It should be okay.
All right, let me go deep. And I'm going to open another can of worms just to open it, just so we can have a look inside and go, look, it's full of worms.
Okay.
Close it again.
Yes.
Right. I think that men are tradition, because I agree with you when you said, I agree with you 100%. But why would, because we're talking on paper, but we're not talking in a real life. Because in a real life, it's a different thing. So on paper, there's nothing wrong with the woman being a breadwinner, the main breadwinner for the household, and the man, be playing that motherly role, maybe taking the kids to school, picking up the kids in the evening, making sure they're fed before mum comes to work. Those roles can be reversed quite successfully, not a problem. But where I'm coming from is that traditionally men are viewed as breadwinners, and in a lot of cases, in our community, I'm talking about our community now, I'm saying it, you're only looked at as a breadwinner in certain situations. I know there's so many fathers out there. And this is why I said I didn't want to open the can of worms because we have to close it. But I know so many fathers that there's women that will say, you can't see your child unless you're putting money on the table. And they might not be in a position to financially support that child, but there's so many other needs that child needs, i.e. emotional support, blah, 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 blah. So I get what you're saying. But until we have a understanding as a community that a man plays a much more important role in the household than just providing financially, I think we can't really progress. Am I making sense? Would you like to come in there?
Yeah, no, I completely understand what you're saying. And even, I know relationships where, the female earns more than the male, but that man still has a role to play and it's important in his role.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying?
Exactly.
But I think from the aspect of going out on a date with someone that you met for the first time, if a man has asked me out on a date, when I get to the table, I don't want to hear nothing about equal and half and share. You asked me out on a date.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like after a while, the roles can reverse and you get to know each other and that, and you know what I mean? But I think from the off, if someone asks me out, I don't want to hear no double dutch when we get to the table.
Yeah. No, I don't blame you.
That's just me. That's just me.
There's a lot of people. I like what you just now said.
Thank you, sir.
I like what you just now said. And it's important because you're saying until people see it the right way, it is a team, it is teamwork. Because of how society is at the moment, it may not be that the man is not capable, but he may not be able to because of how society is treating him. We're not going to go into those work time works. So he has an important role. His important role is to work together with her, the two of them working together as a team.
Definitely.
Whoever's bringing the money, it doesn't matter.
Definitely. We're going to push on. I mean, just to kind of put a little bit of icing on what I was saying there, because you're right. We started with a very simple question. If a man goes out on a date with a woman, should he pay? We're just looking in the grander scheme of things and that mindset of, okay, you should pay, you're the provider. What happens when that date turns into a relationship? That relationship turns into a bun in the oven, and are you still perceived in just that element of as a provider, or are you seen as more bringing more to the tables as a skill set as a man? And I know you definitely do look at a man for all his qualities, but there are some people in society that they only view a man as the breadwinner and that's his role. So when they got kids together, it's a case of if you're providing, you can see your kids. If you're not providing, you can't see your kids. And there's no kind of understanding that a man has a much more important role to play within the household.
To me, that issue there is a whole separate issue.
Absolutely.
Like that,
Another
like,
conversation.
Yeah, that's a whole
Another show.
That's a whole nother show. You know what I mean? Because I think obviously, yes, you have the stereotypical what is a man, but I think when the kids get involved and that's used, that's a woman problem.
Yes. That is we're gonna have to do a show on that. 100%. Definitely.
Yeah, show's coming up. And if you guys have got any ideas or any topics you want us to discuss, send us an email and we'll be sure to open up discussions. Likewise, if you guys want to join us here on the couch, it's Scott Talk and Lillian, the Love Zone. Drop us an email. The details are running across the bottom of the screen. info@realtalkradio.co.uk. Just say, hey, Lillian, I want to come on your show, and tell us why. Tell us you want to come on the show and why you'd like to come on and what you'd like. So yeah, we'll take it from there. So just reading out a couple of comments. Shout out to all the regular listeners going in. Shout out to Mira once again. You give me a joke, yeah. Big up your damn self, yeah. Watching Ace back to back, yeah. And now you're up to date. Do you know one of the worst things is when you're talking to someone about your show and you say, yeah, do you know last week's Love Zone show, and they're not up to date. So it's like, because you're trying to talk about a topic like intimacy, but they're not there. So it's like, never know what I'm talking about. You never watched Miss Shaw. You never watched Miss Shaw. So, but yeah, shout out to Mira, up to date right now. Big up yourself. Shout out to Rianne Thomas, who said, I think it's important to know someone's mind before knowing their body. And I would 100% agree with you. I would say get to know their minds and then get to know their soul. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And then the body part becomes a bonus, you know, and that's a grown man thing, when you start to get into, and then what you said about being see into that person.
That's right.
You know,
absolutely.
Shout out to Cheryl. Cheryl. She says, yes, I agree. Say what it is. Getting to know, that was when you referred to, if it's a date, call it a date, and if it's a link up, because you want a link up, just tell me so you fancy me. I want
exactly,
you know,
and then I can turn you down.
We talked about that a few weeks ago. So, how do you express your sexual feelings without fear of reprisal?
Yeah.
And that's the problem, you see, because men, we don't like to get shut down neither, you know, because that can really break a man's spirit.
I understand that, but me agreeing with you when I'm not interested just to please your spirit hurts my spirit.
Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Be real.
Well, in that case, right, just let me down gently.
Oh, that's fine.
So, you talk. You got bruise a man's ego, take him a while to recover from that one, you know. Right? Especially when he thought he was getting somewhere with it as well. Right, that's why. Right, comments. Rihanna Thomas, thanks for your comments. You said, yes, you agree communication is the key. Cheryl says she's old school and believes a man should lead. And Rihanna says, I agree. Everyone needs to be a team player in a relationship to have a successful partnership, 100%. Yeah. Teamwork, make the dream work, baby. Right, so we've got another clip. You want to just tell us about this next clip?
This is a clip. We have a clip now from Sue.
Sue?
Yeah.
Yeah, from Sue.
Okay, in answer to your questions, the first being, should a man pay if out on a date? I think is what you're asking. I guess the answer to that would be it really depends. If it's a question of the date was set up on the premise that it was perhaps a treat or a special occasion that was organised for you as a woman, or a date, I should say, then automatically it feels that, yes, he should pay. Not necessarily, I suppose it depends really, because some people might think that, equality and why should he? But I think at the outset, you kind of know, if I'm honest. I'm not saying that I have always been in a situation whereby I've been out and I've allowed the man to pay. I'm always one who is always ready to take my wallet out, or my purse that is, to pay. Equally, whether or not that is accepted or not is another situation, but I think in all honesty, if you are on a date and it was a date that was organised by the other person as a special treat or what have you, and they have put it on specially, then I would think that in that situation, or certainly in my experience in those situations, yes, the man has paid. But that, as I said, doesn't mean that I don't pay in certain situations or offer to go Dutch. And if a man pays, I think it doesn't mean that, well, certainly it might do, but actually it's never happened to me. But yeah, I think sometimes men might have it in their minds whereby, oh yeah, I'm going to take her out, I'm going to pay, I'm going to, shower her with, good treatment and show her a good time because, yeah, I'm going to get something from that. Maybe more in my younger days, that might have been the case. I think you've got more of an affinity when you're older, but who's to say there are some men that still want that, anyway. So it could work both ways, but in my situation, I would think now, I'm married anyway. Does it happen to my husband? No, he wouldn't think he's going to get something from me if he's going to pay, not at all. So I would say it depends on I guess where can't even come up with my words, but I guess it depends on. I think age is a major factor where this comes into play. So it could work both ways. Does it emancipate a man when a woman pays? Again, I think it really comes down to age and experience. I think when you're older and wiser, you kind of know who you are, and it shouldn't be all about ego, and you don't know that it's taken away from their their role as a man, or if a woman pays. No, I think in certain circumstances, and I have done that before when I've been out with friends, I paid and it's been fine. So no, but again, like I said before, I think it really comes down to age. I'm a much older woman, and people that I would be going out with or friends are older, so I think that makes a difference. What's the other thing? If you go Dutch, is it a date? Yeah, you can go Dutch and be on a date. Why not? You can be both as equal. Sometimes people might just say, "Oh, I'll pay," and with the intention of not really paying because they want the other person to pay, but don't want to feel bad, especially if it's a date. But my experience again is when I say I'm going to go Dutch, I mean it. It's not that I am playing games, as it were. But again, I keep harping on and saying this is age and experience. I think it's the same situation here. Yeah, I think that's it. Actually, I hope I've answered your questions.
Brilliant. So once again, I want to thank you, Sue, for your thoughts and your comments there. So guys, next week, don't forget, next week, the question is dating apps. Do you use dating apps? Do you use online dating forums and websites? I know next week's show is going to be a madness because I've got some very strong opinions on the subject. I know you've also got some strong opinions on the subject. And guys, we want all of your videos coming in all through the week. We want to know your experience. Have you used a dating app before? Have you used a dating website? And I through presenting on my radio, I've asked this question before, and I get such an influx of people that tell me good stories, bad stories. People have met cray-crays on, they call them cray-crays, these crazy bunny boilers and all that on these dating apps. And I know people that have told me they've been married, they've met the love of their life and been married. So we want to dissect what's going on in the dating app world. So we'll do all that next week. So send your clips in tonight. The question, and oh yeah, by the way, guys, A Scott Talk. Since we come out of the love zone, there's a theme, there's a red thread, and we're just breaking this down slowly. So we started by talking about communication, because communication is the first part of any relationship. We then looked at sex, love, and intimacy, and what that looked like to the individuals, and then we've moved now into dating. So there is a method to our madness, and this week we're talking about now
sex before marriage. So we wanted to talk to you, Nicola. What are your views on sex before marriage?
Well, to me, this is kind of a very like poignant topic because, you know, I was raised in the church and, you know, was taught from a child, you know, no sex before marriage, you know what I mean? A man has to get to know you, that will come later, you know, all of that kind of stuff. And you hear it and you agree. And, you know, I remember being at school and I was the one that everyone used to kind of laugh at because I was like, yeah, I'm not having sex before marriage. Like, I'm waiting till I get married. That was my thing, right? And then teenage years hit and and the hormones just went to the madness. Long story short, had my son at 17, well, got pregnant at 17, had him at 18 years old. And, you know, I was with his father for a period of time and we did end up getting married. And that relationship ended quite traumatically for myself. So from there, I guess I just didn't handle it well. I kind of threw the rule book out the window and just made mistake after mistake after mistake and went down a path kind of self-destruction. I can see it now as self-destruction, right? Then, you know, fast forward a few years later and I meet, you know, my current partner, and it I think having someone that actually genuinely showed love, not because of any sexual reason, but genuinely showed care and love and attention, brought me out of that phase. Do you see what I mean?
Yes.
But on the place I was in when I met him, it was a place where, yes, we were having sex before marriage. And then, you know, I was with him for a period of 12 years. We got engaged, we were engaged for 3 years, and got married actually just a year ago, February last year. But for a long period of time. But during our engagement, we did abstain. And it was a conscious decision. Number one, because I was on that, you know, growth journey and I was back into my faith and he was as well. So it was the right thing for us to do. But as well, I did it for an additional reason, which was to kind of get to know myself, because I seen where actually what I was doing wasn't just random. There was something that was hurting. There was something that wasn't fixed, which was what led me down that path. So I needed to be sure that it wasn't still a problem. And you can't tell that when you're still in the situation. If you're still doing the thing that you do to medicate, you don't know how you are without it.
Yes.
Do you see what I mean? And you can't go into marriage still being on medication, if that makes sense. You need to be fixed before you enter that. So for me, it was a period of, you know what, if we can get through this period without, then I know marriage is good. I'm good. I'm ready. And so for me, that's where it came from.
How difficult was that to abstain? How long did you abstain for?
For the engagement, for the period of the engagement.
Which
and
was
it
how long?
was about 3 years.
3 years. And prior to
3 years.
that, you've been together for how long?
So we've been together 12 years now. So we're probably talking about 6 years. Am I doing my maths right? Yeah.
So that's a long time.
6, 7, 8 years or something like that. 8 years. 8 years.
You abstained for 3 years. So you were together for 6 years.
I think it was 8 years. We're engaged for 3, which brings up to 11. We've been married 12. So
perfect.
8 years we were together before that.
Perfect.
So you've had a sexual relationship for 8 years, and then you abstain for 3 years. What impact did that have on your relationship?
It got real. We got to know each other. At first, it did take its toll. At first, we thought we were managing fine. You know, we were like, oh, this isn't that bad. You know, we're all right. We're good. And I think because we had been together so long, obviously, we weren't still in that honeymoon phase where it's all, you know what I mean? We're used to each other at this stage. And I might add, we didn't live together before marriage either. So I suppose that probably made it easier, because not having someone in your house is easy to deal with, rather than if you're sleeping with the person in your bed. And you know what I mean? I suppose we didn't have that to contend with because we were in separate houses. But still, it took its toll on the relationship in terms of there was an energy that disappeared, and it became very robotic. You know, we'd have the morning call. Oh, how's you? You know, what you got to do today? I'm going to work. I'm doing this. Okay, I'll call you later. How was work? Yeah, it was fine. Okay, I'm going to bed. I'll speak to you tomorrow. And it kind of just turned into this non-relationship. And it was actually my husband that kind of sat me down one day and was like, look, we need to address this. We need to bring back the fire. Even though we're not going to do that, we need to put something back into this, find a different way to bring that energy back. So, but yeah, we got through it.
I think we need to just let this one marinate for a minute, because what you said there is powerful. This is some real, we just need to let it settle, because there's a yin and yang on both sides. We know that sex is the glue for a lot of relationships. sex is the glue for a lot of relationships, and it's very unusual to find a couple that can be together for 6 or 7 years, decide that we're gonna abstain from sex for 3 years, because that shows how real the dynamics of the relationship is. And then, so that's amazing in itself. But what you also highlighted in that process is the fact that the relationship did become mechanical, and without that energy, without that chemistry, without that intimacy,
Absolutely.
there was a kind of a void in the relationship. So there's a lot to
Absolutely.
unpack here.
Yeah.
Nalin.
Yes, because you weren't being into it. What you actually found out is that you needed to form yourselves a relationship outside of sex.
That's it. It needed to evolve.
You needed to, yes.
I'm sorry to cut, but do you remember earlier when I said connection before erection? That's what I was referring to.
Yes.
That connection.
Absolutely.
Before it's just erection, erection that makes the connection.
Yes.
But that's my simple way of saying it, is that you get the connection. But you reframing, you actually built that connection.
Yes.
And then the erection.
Yeah, because you're looking at who are you outside of a sexual relationship. That's what you found out.
Brilliant. Brilliant.
And
Brilliant.
why that's important is because if you had problems sexually, the man couldn't have an erection, or the woman no longer had a libido for sex, you now have an established relationship outside of sex. You can weather the storms that might come ahead because of lack of sex in a relationship, because you've actually found out who each other are, and you've built something so strong that now that you are having sex, I can only imagine it's like Wonderland for you.
Well, now I think we just appreciate it.
Yes.
We appreciate each other.
Yes.
And we have that kind of faith in our relationship that we know it's not about that. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
We know that
Yeah.
you could leave us with nothing and we'd be good.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? And it's like
Yeah.
knowing that you've got that kind of longevity in a relationship was encouraging going into marriage, because like I said, I still kind of had them beliefs that, you know what, I didn't plan to be married twice in my life. It just turned out that way. But I did want my marriage to be the one enduring relationship.
Yes.
So I wasn't going to enter it lightly the second time. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like it needs to be the real thing.
Yeah, it's a powerful thing. I remember a few episodes before you asked, how do you make it last? Do you recall asking how that's a good example of one way to make that sure that that's lasting, because you've built something so solid outside of a sexual relationship, which is amazing. It's amazing.
So this is beautiful, because we're thinkers, we're philosophers, we go deep on these things, and this is what it's about. It's about having those conversations and taking the thinking and the intellect to another level. I think your story is a very unique one, but it's one that should be used as reference time and time again.
Absolutely.
You know, when we talk about the strength of a relationship, Nicola Carter is a fine example. So it goes back to the question I asked, and for you it is a little bit of an oxymoron because of the story, but I want to ask the question again. Sex before marriage?
I think it's a distraction. You can form, and because as well, sex is not just sex, it's spiritual, it's emotional. There are hormones at play, and it clouds your judgment, it clouds your vision. You can be attracted to someone physically, but they're not right for you, and you're not right for them. But because of that, in that addiction to that feeling of euphoria that you get when you're with them, you will follow it down a rabbit hole and end up in a dark place. And only when it crashes and burns will you realize, oh my gosh, that person was never right for me. Why did I go there? You know what I mean? You start then thinking, what was that?
Yeah, I understand. I was studying this particular topic last night in some depth actually, and what you're actually making reference to is really down to how the brain releases certain chemicals like dopamine, you know, and the way your brain forms neurological pathways. So if use you as you're a good example. Amen. Praise the Lord. You're a good example. So let's just say every time I see you in a red dress, I get happy. Right? My brain will form a neurological pathway and release dopamine. Right? So what starts to happen is I will associate
The red
dress with a sense of
euphoria.
happiness, euphoria. And so you're talking about toxic relationships. Sometimes some people could be attracted to somebody, But because that person's toxic, but that person makes them feel a particular way every time they see them, i.e., their brain's releasing that dopamine, they say, "I'm in love." That's why they say, love is the sign of madness, because you can literally do things that are a bit insane when you're in love. I want to thank you, Nicola, for sharing that story.
Yes,
I think it was an amazing one.
It's really powerful. It's really powerful. But I need to, you were saying, should we try before we buy?
Yeah.
There's a difference in your story that you had actually had a sexual relationship with him prior, and then you've abstained. That's a unique thing to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people who commented on this question, it's that they haven't had a sexual relationship with that person first. And you've gone a spiritual road while you've abstained. A lot of people think that it's important to know whether you're sexually compatible and therefore have sex before marriage. I'm not talking about, you just meet someone and have sex, but they're planning to get married and so forth, and because they're intending to, then they will have sex actually before the wedding day, because they haven't had that. So there's that side of it as well.
Yeah, with that, I think that even that in itself is from the perspective of someone who's had a previous sexual relationship. Because if you've never been with anyone, you have no comparator. And this is why, when young people get to a certain age and they probably start plugging into pornography and that kind of stuff, it colors their expectations sexually, because they're seeing something that is not real, but that's what they see as their norm. They have nothing to compare it to.
Yes.
And then they're chasing down this road of trying to replicate what they have seen and what they have experienced that way, thinking that's normal. You know what I mean? And sometimes that's where you get the disappointment, and you start then looking for, you know what I mean? And and I think for someone if you're a person that's never had a sexual partner, the concept of not being compatible, you don't know what that is. So if this is a path that you follow from the origin all the way through, you'll be fine, because you'll get to know the person, and that is what you'll fall in love with. Do you see what I mean? And the issue of incompatibility won't come up because you have nothing to compare it to. That's my thinking on it.
Interesting. I mean, I think we could go round and round on this topic. But one thing that is new, what you've added to the equation, which I'm going to I don't know how I'm going to package it, but I think it's definitely something that's worth looking at, is the fact that you had a physical relationship.
Yeah.
You guys were in love, so to speak. Let's get married, and then you abstained. And I think that maybe that practice should be something that we should look at as something that we should practice more often. If you love somebody and you really love that person, so maybe it's not a case of sex before marriage. Maybe it's a case of a bit of both. Try before you buy. Then, if you want to get married, then if you love me, you'll wait. You've tasted it. If it's good, it's like, it's like sometimes you ever think to yourself, I really fancy a KFC. You've had KFC before, and and nothing else will do. I just want a KFC. So you taste the KFC. You know how the KFC tastes. Right? So do you understand what I'm saying? So no, because it's deep. Because I've always been an advocate of, and I've said this so many times, and I believe that people should have relationship counseling before they get married.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So you go to get the little the license. That should be on the condition that you have at least 10 sessions of relationship counseling.
Yes.
And then after those 10, they can come back and see, do you still want to get married?
Yes.
Because you might, like I said, you could roll around in the sheets, and like I've said to people, that you could be a lot of people can find themselves very compatible with other people in the bedroom. So that's easy to tear off clothes and find compatibility. Do you know what I mean? But let's start having that more deeper depth conversations.
Absolutely.
Are we actually on the same level?
Absolutely.
Are we on the same page?
Yeah.
Do we want the same things out of life?
Absolutely.
What does the next 10 years look like for you?
Yeah.
Because I might, in 10 years' time, I might want to pack up and go and retire and live abroad.
Yep.
You might have a completely different. So people don't. It's not just because we're like that in the bedroom. Now we're gonna let's get those other things right. So I think I like the idea of abstaining for a particular period before the marriage, because it then tells you how real it is, or is it just Is it just sex?
So you're saying try before you buy and then abstain.
I'm not saying I'm saying that. I'm saying that it's an interesting concept.
Okay.
To maybe that should be further explored. You know, because I know we talked about the youngsters and we
Yes.
talked about how maybe this conversation is quite a difficult conversation to have with the younger audience because remember, everyone wants to explore. That's what young people are about. Their hormones are up in there and they want to explore. So it's how do you maybe bridge that gap between just exploration and actually mapping out something more long term?
Yeah. Again, it's encouraging new communication and understanding
Yeah.
first.
Yeah.
Encouraging that side of it and giving them actually understanding because I think we spoke earlier about being sapiosexual. You know, being being sapiosexual,
Which is,
and
we covered that last week.
yeah,
didn't
so
we?
Taps into intelligence
yes.
and knowledge and
yes,
the mind.
yes.
The mind.
And
yeah.
you said you're quite sapiosexual.
Yeah.
It turns you on. Somebody intelligent turns you on.
Yeah.
Well, you're turned on by different
I
things.
don't think I have a lot of sapio. You can have sapiosexual sex, right?
Are you talking about transit? So
Yeah.
So you're naturally penetrating. Is that
But
what
it's
you
the
mean?
mind,
Yes.
You're actually your mind is having an orgasm just through the conversation.
Yes.
That's being stimulated.
Yes. Yeah.
You understand where I'm coming from?
Yes.
You know? I'm gonna read out a couple of comments on the Facebook. I just switched over. Shout out to everybody on the Facebook. Shout out to you guys, man. You lot don't get as much love as the YouTubers, but I've been seeing the comments come up on the screen, so I just flipped onto Facebook to get some of the comments. Firstly, Sonia Spencer. Big up your damn self. She says, big up to my beautiful cousin, Lurleen. Don't she look amazing tonight? Absolutely amazing. Like, I watch some boy, I feel like, yeah, and you're getting all the hearts going now on the Facebook, right? We've also got Wilfred Ellis. Shout out to Winfred Ellis, who says, sex is an expression of love. Now, it's interesting you say that, Winfred, because we done a show a couple of weeks ago where we dissected sex, love, and intimacy. And I think the general consensus from our listeners was that sex and love are two completely different things. And you can make love to somebody without having sex, and you can have sex without making love. I've even had, we were talking about couples that just have sex.
Yes.
So you could be a couple that are in love with each other, but do you know what? We just have
Tonight is
tonight we have some. Yeah, that's how we're off sex. But and then other times it could be we're playing Jodeci. And man's making love to you and kissing and caressing you. You understand what I'm saying? You're too much. Stop looking at me like that. Stop it.
I'm feeling like the third wheel. I'm just like,
she does that when I'm trying to be serious. I'm trying to talk to the picture. Stop looking at me like that. You're making my guest
Nicola, honestly, that is so not true.
She does it
I'm
every
just
week.
looking
I
at
have to
you.
ignore her while I'm trying to talk.
I'm just looking at you.
Stop doing that. Right.
I look at your shoes.
Yeah. What did you tell me to look when I wasn't sure where to
Look in my eyes. So I'm looking in your
Yeah,
eyes.
but not like that. Right, Wilfred, sorry. All right, so I'm gonna need some help. Right. So yeah, I mean, I get what you mean because some people do use sex as a way of communicating their love, and this is why I brought it up. And there are even a lot of young people that can be vulnerable and don't know themselves yet, and they think that if they're in a relationship, that's how someone expresses their feelings.
Yes,
and that's an important
and this
point
is
to make.
yes.
So I'll slow that one down. So you can be young and you can be vulnerable, and in a sexual relationship where you think the only way someone can express their love to you is in a sexual manner.
Yes.
And that's why it was important that we dissected that there's a big difference between sex and making love, and someone can love you and make love to you without the act of penetration. We also looked at what does it mean to love yourself as well.
Absolutely. But also, we're talking about emotions because we are sexual beings. So we could feel sexually towards a lot of people. It's what more? What else is there? Because we don't have to have sex with everybody that we feel sexual towards.
True.
So what more? What should we not be aiming for more? This is what we should be teaching the children to think about: their emotions, their thoughts, their connections. All of this, we need to educate the kids because they're taught about the sexual organs, but not actually what's going to be about the sexual connections, the thoughts, the emotions, sensitivities. That's all going with that. That is what the discussion needs to be.
And I just want to put out this is why I'm so disgusted.
should we not
with
be
the
aiming for?
new national curriculum that they put in the schools, and how all they are interested in is teaching our children not only just sexual education, but how to be very
This is what we should be teaching the children, to think about their emotions, their
explorative
thoughts, their connections,
with
all of this.
their
We need to
sexual
educate the kids, because
behaviors.
they're
And I
taught
think for
about
such
their
young
sexual
individuals,
organs,
it's very
but not
damaging
actually
to
what's
these
going to
kids'
be
minds,
about the
because
sexual
like you've
connections,
just
the
identified
thoughts,
that there's
the
a lot more to a
emotions,
sexual
sensitivities
relationship
all
than
going
just
with
the
that.
physical.
That
There's
is
a lot
what
of
we're
emotions
yes.
and even psychological
Mm.
trauma that can
Absolutely.
come with. Do you know what I mean? So we have to be very mindful what we teach our kids, and very mindful what we allow the government to teach our kids, because our children are the future. We don't want to raise a nation of damaged children. This isn't just the ace with hitting out points. This is actually very, very, very important. It's very damaging to these kids' minds, because it's not more to a sexual relationship. But moving on, just to read out a couple more comments. I know we're running shortly out of time. I want to shout out on the Facebook once again. I want to shout out to Jeff. Yeah, good. God bless you. He says he's enjoying the show. Great points. And guys, everyone that's watching on Facebook, do me a favor after the show, hit that share button now. Share the show. Share it in all the groups that you're on Facebook. Share with your friends. Tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend. I also want to just bang out a couple more comments. My darling, the one and only, the Queen of England, yeah, Her Majesty, Pamela Page. Big up yourself. Pamela's written a book all the time. I want to shout out on the Facebook, Loving the Brother. And that's an amazing book, guys. It's in the, you can get, I'm sorry to do a plug. But yeah, look out for that book on Amazon, Loving the Brother, because it shows the love zone, and we're talking about love. You know, and us brothers, we need a lot of love from you sisters, yeah? So Pamela's written a book called Loving the Brother. And Pam, if you could put a little link in the description to where you can get all your books, because that's a book that needs to be read. And then Sonia says, big up to the Guyanese, yeah, that's on the love zone. Are you made? Are you made? South America in the building, in the red dress. Yeah, it's only because I'm trying to bathe myself today and not put myself into too much problems. And I'm gonna get wicked and bad on camera. You know? Ace has been on his best behavior today. You know what I'm saying? I've been a good boy today. Quickly running out. I know we're running out of time. Do you want to just touch on a little bit next week's show? That's on the
So next week's show is about dating apps, dating websites. What's your face is all lit up here. So you go ahead, Nicola. Tell us what you think.
I have used dating websites and I've used dating websites. And I actually met my husband on a dating website.
Okay, excellent. So
interesting.
This is a shame you're not here next week.
It's a shame you're not here. We might have to bring you back, you know. Bring you back, you know. Right, you come hit that bombshell on us. We never know. Interesting.
I've got so you go ahead. Spouses, married
websites
on dating websites. So it's going to be an interesting conversation.
It's going to be, because I'm not going to say nothing, because I'm very opinionated on this subject.
So,
but honestly, I come from a psychological point of view. It's a shame. And it goes back to all I'm going to talk about. What we just said about children, and if you just teach them the sex, the act of how to penetrate, and you don't teach them about the emotions that involve with it. I believe, and I know this is very controversial. We'll leave it. I said I'm not going to talk about it, and that's up to it. But tap, like, keyboard warrior.
It's going to be
I'm not in it. Yeah, I like what you do. The way you look at me, you know, come me can't tell you fancy me, you know.
Honestly,
I could have told that if I was in front of a computer screen, you can feel it energy.
But you know,
you can feel it too. And you're sitting over there. But
you need to defend that.
listen. But quick. What I found, right, by finding my husband through an actual dating site is that the clouds of lust and sexuality were removed, because all I'm concentrating on is what is he saying.
Yes.
What is he saying?
Absolutely.
Because sometimes person can say one thing, but they look another way, and you get
Yes.
distracted by how they look and not what they say.
Absolutely. You can,
Clears the-
yes,
the
you
air.
can quickly find out about people, because if you go to a bar or a club and you meet somebody and you go out for a date and a date the dates, it takes a while for you to learn something that you can learn very quickly by asking a few questions.
And let them talk.
Yes, and you can find out very quickly what you're dealing with.
Don't throw me under the bus next to you, because you did that last week at the start of the show. Straight under the bus. Voila. So, as you can tell, next week's show is going to be interesting, right? And we're going to want your videos, your thoughts, your feedback, your clips.
And you can
have you
find
met
out
your
very
partner
quickly
on a dating app or website? Have you met some crazy stories? Tell about the crazy. We need some balance here. You know what I mean? Tell us about some of your crazy stories. And then all likewise, if you guys don't want to send us a video, you can always send us a email and just tell us your story, and we'll read out your email. We had an email to read out tonight, but we're running shortly, so swiftly out of time. I don't think we're gonna have enough time to do it. Ladies, do you guys, you might be in for a trip. You might get Nicola back next week. You know, we might get Nicola to tell us her story about her. You know, we might just say, ladies, do you want to just summarize for this? Just give them a little golden nuggets before we leave.
Golden nuggets. Understand that sex is more than physical. Understand that it's spiritual, it's mental, it's emotional, and those impacts can last longer than the physical. Marriage is more than sex, and so you need to know all aspects of a person and know you can survive even if the sex isn't there. If you have a horrible injury, something happens to them, can you still stick it out? Marriage is about longevity.
It's fantastic. It's really, really powerful, your story. And I agree with everything that you just
Understand that sex is more than
That is exactly that. We need
Understand that
to
it's spiritual,
understand
it's
ourselves,
mental,
know that we are more than just our bodies, we are our mind as well, and let's connect that way.
Marriage is
first.
more than sex, and so you need to know all aspects of a person and know you can survive.
It's got to, I'm speechless. All I can honestly say is I'm in the presence of absolute royalty. I'm in the presence of absolute divinity. I am blessed and highly favored. And I just want to thank both of you goddesses for joining me tonight and just sharing, because that's what this environment is about. I say we're creating a space where we can have these open, honest conversations about relationships and dynamics and how we feel as individuals. I also want to thank you guys, the listeners at home, for joining us again and your interaction and your participation both on Facebook and on YouTube. One more time, I'm just going to remind you guys before you know, if you have any type of trauma, stress, depressed, anxiety, or feeling suicidal, and you'd like to share it with a professional counselor, the details are just running away. But we're going to have some email honest conversation, okay? And we will get a professional counselor on the phone to you. With you guys, 24 hours. Guys, and until next week, stay blessed. Hey, I never got to say goodbye.
It's not so much I want to go start. I really would be interested in you guys sending in your thoughts about the dating sites. So you can send them also to our email, which is askus@the-lovezone.co.uk. So send us in your clips, your words, your questions, everything, your thoughts about next week's show.
Brilliant. And we're going to start a hashtag, an Ask Us hashtag. So on Instagram, right? So you know when you guys send in the 60-second clips, if you're on Instagram, right, when you post your clips on Instagram and hashtag Ask Us.
So you can send also to our email, Lovezone 2020. Ask us at the Instagram or Instagram. Sorry, we're having a domestic here, as you can see.
tell them about the hashtag.
Sorry,
Yeah, but you can follow us on Instagram. She wants to tell you about. Go on, tell them about the Instagram. Go on, tell them about Instagram. We're starting up a Love Zone Instagram. Right, cool.
The Love Zone 2020.
Right. Love Zone 2020. Yeah, but if you want to, so what we're going to do is all your little 60-second clips of you as you post them on the show. If you just hashtag Ask Us, or I like the one Ark Says. Hashtag Ark Says. Just rolls off the tongue, isn't it?
I like Ask Us.
Sorry, we're having a
Ask Us. Yeah, so until next week, guys. Thanks, you've been an amazing audience. Stay blessed, and I'll see you next week. Salute.